Hello, everyone. Welcome to this episode of E-Coffee with Experts. I am your host, Matt Fraser. And on today's show, I have with me a very special guest, Kemal B. He is a successful entrepreneur, corporate consultant, and marketing specialist with a proven track record of success in startups, marketing, and business development. He has founded multiple companies, including UpTrend Marketing Solutions, Orier, forgive me if I say it wrong, Media,
yes, sir.
and JR Services. He holds a master's degree in marketing communications and is working towards his PhD, his doctorate in integrated marketing communications and organizational performance. Kemal is an expert at developing marketing strategies that convert campaigns into sales, and he is also a mentor who inspires individuals and teams to achieve their full potential. Kemal, thank you so much for being here. Pleasure to have you on the show.
Pleasure to be here, Matt, and that's just a long intro. Half of that is probably not true.
I was on your LinkedIn profile, so I must.
So I was like, let's put something in there. I'm just joking. Yeah, thank you so much for that introduction.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Hey, this is my signature question. How would your university professors describe you as a student?
Upward, loud, noisy. They'd probably say that he's a smartass. He's a smartass. He likes to interrupt in class. He likes to say what he thinks, and so I was the type of students that really want to voice their opinions, no matter if the professor likes it or not. They really like to voice it out, and that's what usually university professors do not appreciate. So I was that student. I was that guy that had good grades, but was really kind of pain in the ass. Sorry, my French.
Oh, it's all good. So you went to what school again? Sorry.
Yes.
A Bachelor's of Science degree in Sarajevo. Wow.
Yeah. So the interesting story about me that goes a long ways that I've come from Bosnia, which is part of the Southeast Europe, and there was people usually know Bosnia. It's like from the 90s war that came on and ended up very unfortunate stuff going on. So I came from there, but the thing is, I lived in Dubai, came back to Bosnia, went through my university studies there. There's a very backstory. Not sure how much time we got, but the thing is, I was that kind of guy. When I finished the high school, I went immediately to my university studies, got married by the age of 20, by the way, two beautiful girls right now. And I'm 33, so my older one is 11 years old. I'm pretty much scared of her. Awesome. I got married when I was 20, and I was like, at the age of 25, by 25, I already had and lost 3 companies. So it was really something that hit the bin. And then, of course, during that period of time, we opened up a company in UK. We closed it down. That failed up. During COVID, we started a company in the United States by teaming up with a partner of mine, one of my best friends. But that's a huge different storyline. So I come from Bosnia. I had my huge influence that was here, and especially coming from this kind of small country that had this kind of fortunate past. Is that people tend to be very close-minded and narrow and telling you won't and it's hard to get away from that kind of community. So I was highly influenced by Tony Robbins, by Gary Vee, by all these big guys when I was a kid. So I was going on, and I was in high school and my university studies. I was like, hey, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. And so I met my current wife when I was like, in high school, and she's my high school sweetheart. And I was like, hey,
that's awesome.
I'm a workaholic. I don't want to hang out and go to bars and stuff like that.
That's boring. It's such a waste of time.
It's boring. I
did it for 2 years. It's such a waste of time.
I want to focus on my work. I want to focus on my career. I want to focus on my business. Let's get married. Boom. Suddenly you're out of money and you're thinking about what to do to survive. So that's how we started out.
Wow. Have you always had the entrepreneurial bug then, like even from a young age?
Oh man, that's something that I think I'll never lose. I can't sleep at night thinking about all the achievements and all the things. And the biggest problem with entrepreneurship is that sometimes you see this crystal ball, and everything's a crystal ball. Opportunities everywhere, and sometimes if you're not focused enough, you don't develop your own niche. That's where you lose. But I've always been like that. I remember my current business partner and I. We were kids. So that's a huge backstory as well. When we were kids, we used to create these parties for kids and charge tickets, and we used to create these sports tournaments and charge entries. Or I remember one time I used to take from my home like a bunch of stuff from my mom and dad's and just sell it out anywhere we could just to get some money on board. So we were always thinking about how to earn an extra buck. And they always told me that I was a little bit out of everybody, and we were a little bit different because we were always thinking about, hey, let's stop this. This is boring. School's boring. Everything's boring. Let's focus on getting some money. Let's focus on making something special. And I think I've always had that in me. And even when I started to work, because I went through the regular stuff before opening up my company, I was the head of marketing at a university level. So as the head of marketing, when I was like half of the bunch of the stuff I was doing, I didn't even know that I was supposed to do until I got this book by Kotler that they use at the university levels. And they're like, hey, this is how you're supposed to create a brand. This is how you're supposed to create a website. This is how you're supposed to sell.
What book was it?
By Kotler. It's Introduction to Marketing. It's like so basically that's the university level books they read.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, this is something interesting I want to read. And that's how I fell in love with marketing, because it's always dynamic. It's always interesting. There's always something new happen along the line, and I just stayed there.
Right on. Yeah. An Introduction to Marketing by Phil Kotler, just in case everybody is. The 4th edition now has been out.
Yep.
The 4th edition was in 1996. Oh, and there's a newer edition of it. Sorry. There's a 10th edition now that's out. That was out in 2010. Wow. I haven't heard that book. I'm going to have to read it. I came from the Dan Kennedy direct response marketing world of the Ultimate Sales Letter and the Ultimate Marketing Plan and that philosophy of marketing. But hey, there's so many different, obviously this book is, I'm just looking at it, that it's of value to read. So I would like to read it. It's amazing how things are moving more towards video content nowadays rather than
everything. So the book that changed me, as we were talking
about. Go ahead.
Yeah. Look, video is moving along the line, but there's always something that's going to stay traditional. That's having these special
books are amazing.
Books. The thing is, with everything that's very dynamic, people are moving towards, and we as marketers, we got to understand that we got to be along with all the changes that are going on. But the book that really changed me is a book by Brian Tracy. Yeah, it's an old book. He wrote it out, Power of Speaking. And so I found that book. I don't know where I found it, to be very honest.
Okay.
And it's kind of like a guideline to how to show dominance and influence wherever you go. And I read that book when I was 16. And at that point,
is it Speak to Win? How to present yourself with power in any situation?
Yes.
That's the book you're referring to?
Yes.
Right on.
Yes. Sorry. So it was a long time. So that book really changed my life. When I read that book, I was a kid and I was like, hey, this is how you're supposed to hand out. This is your go-to things to do. This is what you should write down. This is how you set your goals. This is how you present your goals. And it says 50% is of what you're doing and 50% is how you present what you're doing. And I was like, hey, this kind of changed my mind about a bunch of stuff. And I was like, hey, what if I try to implement even 20% of what I'm reading and not only go into that trap where I just read but don't implement it? Because if you don't implement it, you're not getting anything out of it. So I read that book. It changed my life. Changed my life. I went immediately. Wherever I go, I started doing that, and I've really seen the difference. Like you can experience how much it changes your life.
What were some of the things that you learned that you implemented that were so transformative?
So one of the key things that I've learned is there are techniques that if you practice them enough, they become part of your day-to-day stuff that embedded within your character, right? The way you speak, the way you talk, the way your body language works. And it's so important that you change your body language when you talk to people, because that's how you engage and influence. Yeah. So I read that book and I started doing that, right? I went to sales immediately. So I'm kind of guy that went from marketing to sales to marketing again and back to sales to organizational corporate level performances. So that's where my career went. And I was like, okay, why don't I? And I was very dynamic. I was working even when I was married and I had a kid when I was 22 years old, I was working 20 hours. I was working 20 hours a day. I used to live in this very small flat apartment that we couldn't really even move. And I was like, hey, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to start doing these motivational speeches and motivational talks and just bring the messages out there. And I was doing them for free at the beginning. There were like 10 people coming to my shows, and eventually we moved it on. And then 10 years later, you got 1,000 people in a room. Just the energy is going crazy and everything else. And I said to myself, okay, I'm going to write a book about it. And my first book was called Boardroom for Success: from applauding to an applause, how to get from applauding actually to someone to actually getting that applause, from that book, I've gave all my profits into scholarships for students. Then a lot of these companies that were looking at me, they're like, hey, why don't you come join us and do some talks about it? And do some trainings with our people. And I was like, yeah, sure. Especially when it comes to body language or sales skills or communication skills, etc. So I was like, okay, I'm going to do that. I was a kid. So remember, I was like 24, 25. Yeah. By that time, I lost 2 companies. I found that at that point of time, I was a guy that really had all the knowledge in the world. That's how I felt. And then suddenly, boom, you hear life kicks you in the ass.
Kicks you in the balls.
It kicks you in the balls. Excuse and you're me. Like, what the hell is going on here? So I was like, okay. And at the age of 25, I'm going to make a decision, and I can't focus on my own business if I'm still at my own company. If I'm still working as the head of marketing. I've actually loaned some cash and started my marketing agency.
Is that UpTrend? That was UpTrend when you started?
Yes, we opened it up in UK. So we opened it up in UK with our base being in Bosnia.
Okay.
So we opened up in UK. We started doing some stuff. Like everybody that tells you, hey, they're going to work with you when you start up a business, they're probably lying. They're probably lying. Let me tell you something. That's what people don't get.
I've learned, frankly, that partnerships are the only boats that don't float. And I've been through my share. And I did interview a venture capitalist who said that he's never in the 8 businesses he started, he's very successful. Like, it doesn't matter. Anyway, there's no point in mentioning how much money he has or manages, but it's in the hundreds of millions of dollars. And he said, Matt, I've never owned more than 50% of any company I've ever started. He's always had partners. So I recorded the episode. He talked about what you need to do in order to make it successful. But like you said, you need to really, and what he said was you have to have the roles and responsibilities and everything sorted out up front.
It just has to be clear. It has to be clear.
It has to be clear.
I believe in partnerships.
Don't, Matt, that's where it goes wrong.
I believe in partnerships, but when you go into partnerships, I believe that you shouldn't go into a million partnerships. It should be with key people. And before you start up everything, you need to understand what your goals are, what your duties are, tasks are, who's going to give the money, who's going to do the job, who's going to be the face of it. Everything has to click. Who's going to be the boss? And that's how it clicks. I'm lucky enough because I had my fair share of partners that didn't work out. I'm lucky enough that my current business partner is my best friend as well. And he's the president of the board of our group of companies. And I told the other day I was doing an interview because he's in logistics. And I was doing an interview and I was like, he probably listens to me 80% of the time, whatever I tell him. For these 20% that he doesn't listen, he's probably right. He's probably right. So it's about how you put things into perspective up front and how you and you have to be honest with yourself first.
Yeah.
Yourself.
Knowing what your strengths and weaknesses are, I imagine is what you're getting at.
Exactly. So it was when we started that company out. So fast forward 2019, it was our most successful year. We really bolstered our business internationally. We got a bunch of clients. We started working for different markets. We just started opening up our United States market as well. We started working on the Western front. And what happened was I published my second book at that time called 50 Shades of Sales. The Art of Dominance. So it was only about selling. It was like a guideline for salespeople. And it was something that I enjoyed doing. But hey, and I was telling my wife, maybe I finally taken vacation after 10 years, working 20 hours a day. This is my time. Business is going good. And again, life kind of tends to get back and really strike you back. So you got to understand that it never stops.
Yeah.
People that go...
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. Is there a time where you did face a significant setback? And how did you overcome it?
I think that the better question is there a time that you didn't face? Because when you start a company, when you go into entrepreneurship, when you make a calculated decision, you make it that you are going to be solving problems every single day for the rest of your life.
Every single day.
Aren't going to be only your problems. It's going to be everybody else's problems within the company and outside of the company, plus your family's problems, because they're going to be looking at you as somebody who's, hey, you own a business, you probably know how to solve problems.
It's a problem solver.
You're a problem solver. So you got to make that calculated choice, calculated decision, and really go moving forward. So I believe that so this is a true story. I'm very honest about what we do. And what I did, so I took a loan from a friend of mine. I opened up my company, picked out an office, had 47 meetings within 2 weeks, like face-to-face meetings. I've pushed all my contacts from the list. I was like, boy, I'm going to do this. Freaking Wolf of Wall Street. And what happens is I sell nothing. I sell nothing. Not even one single project, one single dime. And I'm like, I'm sitting in my office. My wife and kids are at home. Okay. My wife and kids are at home. It's 11 p.m. So it's an evening time. I'm there. I've been working my ass off for an entire day. And I'm like,
what am I going to do?
It's hard. It's hard.
It's very hard.
And you know what I tell people, ladies and gentlemen, it's hard. And if you want to build a successful business, I mean, first of all, it's not for everyone. No. But you gotta be persistent, and you gotta understand that it's part of the process. Because now I would have done like a million things differently. I wouldn't target everybody. Sure. I would change a million things.
Yeah. Hey, you and me both.
It's okay. It's okay.
We learn something. It's part of the process, isn't it?
It's part of it. It's a learning curve. It's a learning process that you got to go through. So I went through that, and when COVID hit, at that point, what happened was, I've had 12 contracts, good contracts with clients of mine.
Okay.
But 11 contracts, 11 of my customers called me back and say, hey, Kay, we can't do this. Everybody's afraid. Everybody's scared. The first budgets that we have to cut is marketing, obviously. So you lose your retainer contracts.
The last thing people should be cutting.
And this is what they don't understand, that a crisis. So there are a couple of things that really shocked me at that point is how a lot of these companies that call themselves big companies are not prepared for a crisis. They just aren't. They don't have a backup plan. They work it off day by day. And what you get is, so this is the first thing that shocked me as a professional. And the second thing that kind of shocked me out was, why don't we look at opportunities? You can't move. You can't do anywhere. The brick and mortar shops are going down. Why don't you go digital? And I was trying to sell that, but for the first 2 months, nobody was actually believing in it. There was a process where people were like, hey, now we have to use Zoom and Gmeet and Meets and all these other apps just to kind of pivot what's going on. And I think
all of us have been using it for 5 years prior to COVID.
Exactly. And I was like, it's nothing new. What happened was it was hard because at that time I had an agency with about 12 people, and those are 12 families you got to take care of. And everybody's looking at you. You're somebody looking to you, and you're this guy, this motivator that writes books, and he's on stage. And every day in the company, I'm like full energy. Let's go crazy and let's do some stuff. And then suddenly everything goes down. So what happened was, for 2 months, I was trying to get anything I could. I was reaching out to people, and nothing was happening. And I was like, okay, there's got to be an opportunity here. There's got to be something going on.
Yeah.
But listen to this. So at that point of time, a lot of employees got scared. Okay.
Yeah.
They were like, so I was, getting phone calls, and I was like, hey, I'm probably going to search something more, bigger company that we can move on or start doing something else and stuff. I was like, no, but I'll take care of this. So it was hard to go buy it. But what happened was a friend of mine, my current business partner, at that point of time, he owned a logistics company with 30 trucks. He's operating based out of Phoenix, and he's working 25/8. Right. He's a special guy that I have to take 2 minutes to talk about. He's about my age. So he's 33 right now. He worked as a dispatcher, then as a broker, then started off his one company, started with the one trucker. That company right now has 250 trucks, 600 trailers.
Just wait, 250 trucks?
Yes, sir.
Wow.
Company drivers, huge company, was named twice Amazon most valued carrier. Like and I was like, but at that point, he was at 30 trucks. He's like, Kemal, I'm losing my mind. I used to call him. He was like sleeping half an hour a day and drinking 15 cups of coffees. And he's like, I can't do this, man. I really can't do this. Can't. Yeah, I was like, what are you doing? Talk me through it. And he was like, I'm doing this. So I was like, let me help you out. Let me try to help you out. I have all this time on my hand, all this energy and all this.
Yeah.
And you got to understand that a lot of people will say, no, this is not the right time to invest. He's different. He's the type of guy. Look, he didn't go to any fancy marketing schools.
Or business schools or whatever.
Business schools. He's the kind of guy who learns business by doing it and understanding that there's always somebody smart out there that you can get something from.
Or you can learn from. Yeah,
you can learn.
Absolutely.
So he's Kemal, you're totally different than me. He's the kind of guy who's office based, kind of introvert. He wants to haul freight, provide top customer service, operations guys. He's with a clear vision of what he wants to achieve with the company, and he's not afraid to invest. Right? Yeah. We're like, okay, let's start this. Let's start from scratch. So we start working out. But so at that time, I got an offer to sell my company, my marketing agency, by an investment company, and I talked with him. I was like, hey, I got this offer. And you should sell it, and then we should start a new marketing agency and really use it to scale all our companies. So this is exactly what I did. I sold this company out, moved my best people to my new company, right? we research a targeted niche for the trucking industry. Especially, we target one specific thing that the carrier, the trucking companies, the market is somewhere in the 1980s, 1970s. So we said, okay, let's start marketing and let's start creating image and brands out of these trucking companies. And let's try to help out your company. So we started from that. At that point of time, we were getting big contracts, right? And then at one point he was like, Kemal, I need you at the board of the company. I was like, I don't have time. We still have this company to run. I need you as soon as possible. I moved into VP of business development at Jorai Logistics. And then we started off, we needed a lot of people to handle the operation side of business. And we started employing people left and right. But the way we did is we're not going to just stroll over everybody and just employ anybody. We want to handpick based on our culture and our set of values, what we believe in. So we go back to Bosnia. I go back to Bosnia and we start a company at first starting with 4 people. Now we have 50 people over in Bosnia. And then we move on to Dubai. We are visiting there and searching for other markets kind of to start the business in. And because we started helping out other companies as well to succeed. And then in Dubai, we employ an additional 30 people. And
you're responsible for how many people now? Over 100?
Oh, many more.
Wow.
Many more. So there's so the key to it, and people say so this is an interesting story, Matt. Within the last 2 years, we opened up 6 companies. Within the last 2 years.
You guys saw opportunity. Look at how many people were buying online. The pandemic, they say the pandemic accelerated online shopping by at least 2 years. At least, if not more.
Yeah.
And so that there was an incredible opportunity for shipping and logistics where you were in the trucking. Absolutely.
So imagine this. Our biggest client is Amazon. So Amazon is based on e-com. And and in 2020, we were Amazon's biggest partner in Phoenix, and we couldn't even, it was so big that we were close. The biggest issue is when you start scaling a company at this rate. So it's a huge rate. It's a lot of investment. We're talking millions of dollars of investment. We're talking creating serious systems, backbones, procedures, protocols, getting the right mentality. And my biggest goal at that point was, how do you create a corporate company based, and that's my topic of my PhD as well. How do you create a corporate company based on startup cultural values? Because I didn't want to change.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that. Like, how do you approach leadership and team management within your companies?
It starts from the leader. They're always looking at us. So
everything rises and falls on leadership.
It comes down from the leadership. So if they see you working more hours than them, if they see you motivated, if they learn from you by the way you talk, you speak, you walk, you come back and talk to them, you discuss problems, you carry yourself, and the way you're open with your problems, even when issues arise. So the biggest issue I had was people didn't want to come down and speak with me because they were afraid of how I would react on certain issues. No, we face our problems straight on. And I want you to come. I don't want people tapping on my back and saying you're doing a good job. I want people telling me I'm doing a shitty job so I can actually fix some shit. So we're open about
maybe not that way, but I get what you're saying.
No, I'm serious.
You want them to be really direct.
I want them to be direct with me. Look, if you have 200 people under you, and you have to make decisions, you gotta have several layers of management, and these managers have to have certain distinctive features based on their duties. So the one thing that I really hate when people judge other people based on themselves. Like if you judge a fish by the way it climbs the tree, you'll say probably it's doing a terrible job, right? But a monkey can. But a monkey, they cannot swim the way a fish can swim. So you got to find the right people from there and one thing that we told them, they need to buy our vision of the company. They need to understand our cultural values.
How did you establish those?
So we have something that there's everywhere. And even they crack sometimes jokes of people coming to my office, new people, and I tell them this story, but I tell everybody this. We have a big written on the wall. It says trust. Okay. Trust. But it stands for different, not only trust, which is the core of our company. Trust means trustworthy, responsibility, understanding the client, speed, and teamwork. Trust.
There you go. Okay. So it's an acronym.
It's an acronym. And we use this everywhere we go. And I tell them, when I give you a task, I trust you. When you come to my company, you trust me. And it's a two-way street. And
that is so amazing.
Yeah. And this is where we want to go. And it was hard. And imagine having the company. So now we have in 3 continents, right? So it's hard.
So this is unreal. You went from having your agency being shut down, 11 clients firing you, having only 1 client left, to actually then launching like 6 different companies during COVID and employing hundreds of people and growing.
Yeah.
Wow.
But imagine this. So when I was selling the company, I had a lot of equipment on my last company. I had a lot of clients. So what I would have to do is
the marketing agency, you mean?
Yes. At the same time, when I was starting off our new company, we were taking on, I was still responsible for the old one, like for the transfer of everything. There was everything going on. And I sold a company that was very healthy. I have to say this. It was financially healthy. It was ready to move. And I employed new people that will take on that company because that's what the buyers asked me to do. And as I say, everything is based on trust. So the buyer of the company, he offered me, I don't want to say how much, but he offered me for 1 coffee a month, just a consulting contract to continue with them. I was like, no, I'm going to drink 1 coffee a month with you for free. You don't have to pay me anything. So one of the points that I really believe in as a person is, yes, financial sustainability needs to, like, that should be a focus. But I've never been a person that put money up front and said, hey, I'm doing this for cash. I'm doing this to earn. I'm doing this to be a millionaire. No. Even when you talk about everybody like moving forward, yes, money comes in and out, but you got to have these key values that keeps you in track, that keeps you motivated.
You have a vision beyond money.
You got to have a vision. You got to have
money is not.
It's a good motivator.
You need it to breathe. You need it to live and eat and whatever. But it's not.
It's
I think what I'm hearing you
sustainability.
saying, it's sustainability, but it's not. It can't be the number one thing that drives you. It doesn't.
Yeah.
It's not the number one thing that drives me.
And
what drives me is passion for things. And anyway,
it's passion. So if I lose my passion, this is what I tell. And you got to have also the other stuff. So me, I'm a person that's hungry 24/7. If my body didn't tell me that I need to be sleeping, I wouldn't even sleep. So it tells me like, dude, you really need to sleep right now. So I'm that kind of, I don't say it's hell. I don't tell people that this is what they need to be doing. Like they should be like me. No, it's not healthy. It's definitely not. My wife, we have this discussion all the time, and she gets me. She understands. I've never told you this. For 12 years straight, we've been 12 years married, and I thank her for that, keeping up with my crazy. I understand that when you go in the morning at 8 o'clock to work, you're going to come back at midnight, and you'll probably be on a call at 2 a.m. And if I get you once a week, I get you once a week. But what I try to do is I try to be passionate whenever I'm with my family, whenever I'm with my kids. I'm passionate. And if I'm not, that means I need to start doing something else. If I'm not passionate about something, I need to start doing something else.
There you go. That's so true. Hey, what do you think are the most essential qualities of a successful entrepreneur?
There's several.
Tenacity?
Oh, definitely. But I'd say first passion.
Passion.
You gotta have a passion for things. So you gotta have a passion for things. Number 2 would be probably that as an entrepreneur, you need to be consistent with learning continuously. Because one thing that people don't understand is sometimes what gets you up, what gives you success over the first 5 years or 10 years of your company is the same thing that will give you your failure.
Okay.
So you got to understand that consistent learning and constant learning is something that you need to live with as an entrepreneur. 3 is you got to be very thick-skinned. We were talking about sales before we started recording, and we're like, what type of salesmen are there?
Yeah.
And if salespeople have a certain kind of ego drive that, that they make them, but at the end of the day, they have to have that. If I didn't, with all the no's we get, with all the, I'm not interested we get per day or per month or per years, we've been doing this. If we just kept it and went into depressed state, we would never succeed. So definitely you got to be thick-skinned. And for me,
how did you handle the rejection in sales?
Honestly,
like you had told me about a whole bunch of no's that you got.
So I think that the first rejection I got was for my wife. So she prepared me for it.
Shut the front door. Oh yeah. She said no when you asked her to marry her?
No, she said no when I wanted to date her first.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So she was like, and let me tell you something, Matt. The minute she said no, I knew I was going to get her. The minute, I love it when they say, look, I'm a competitor, right? I'm a competitor. I love to compete. And for me, getting in front of a client and talking to them and speaking to them, and when they say no, that's where my mojo comes in.
That's where it starts.
That's where it starts.
So no,
yes,
it's really
sir.
just the beginning step to uncovering the objections to get to the yes.
Matt, look at this. When you go buy shopping, anything, you go to the mall, you want to start shopping, some sales guy comes to you or salesperson comes to you and they're like, hey sir, what do you want to buy? The first thing you tell
how can I help you?
Or how can I help you? Or yeah, you're like
opening lines.
No, you know what you do? You're like, I'm just looking.
Yeah,
this
exactly.
is it's an automatic.
I never asked those questions and I never got those answers. That's why
it's an automatic. It's an automatic response.
Automatic thing. Yes.
It's something. So you got to just ask the questions. Okay, I understand where you come from. I understand the no that you're telling me. So for me, I told you about a book by Brian Tracy. So for me, I went into really learning sales and how to drive sales and really how to close deals, because you have to. There's techniques for everything.
Okay.
And I've never met a successful guy that hasn't been learning continuously and hasn't been learning from his mistake, because doing the same thing over and over again is just stupid if you're not succeeding. So what? 100%. So what I did was I was like, okay, if I get 1,000 no's, I'll probably get a 1 yes. Maybe it's a numbers game. So then I was thinking about how to convert my 100 no's into maybe a 30% success rate, then a 50% success rate.
Yeah.
You continuously leverage the knowledge and the no's you get. So for me, every time I got a rejection by a client or a potential customer, man, that was a learning opportunity to go through it and overcome it and really learn and do better at my job. And that's what I tell people here. And even here at the company, there's part of the culture is, don't come to my office if you don't have a solution. I don't want to be, so if you don't have a solution, please don't drop by my office and say, hey, we have a problem, we have an issue, blah, blah, blah. Find a solution, give me 3 options. We can discuss it and let's see what happens.
That's so smart. That is so smart. That is so smart.
So what we do is, I tell them this consistently. I don't want to teach people how to work. I want to teach them how to think.
Yeah.
I want to teach them, because that's how you succeed. That's how we leveraged and created all of this.
Yeah.
Gotta have
because
people.
Then if you empower people, like John Maxwell teaches in his book 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership, law of empowerment. And if you empower people to think and come to you with not just the problem, but the problem and 3 solutions, that's so smart.
Yeah.
That's like transformative, man. If everyone listening to this goes and implements that into their agency or business, my gosh, the difference that will make is unbelievable. So tell me, you mentioned closing. Like, what were some of the other sales books that you learned? Besides Brian Tracy, were there any other sales people like Tom Hopkins? I learned from him how to master the art of selling and how to master and sales closing for dummies and so on and so forth, and other people. But were there any other people that, besides just the experience of getting to know, like you mentioned that you kept learning, that were there other books offhand that you would tell someone the must-read books? If somebody's listening to this and they're like, man, I'm a shitty salesperson, could you please tell me 5 books that I should read? Now, maybe you don't know the 5 books offhand, but about sales that they should read.
There are many books on sales that I should read. So the thing is, I started off by listening and reading Grant Cardone, right? So I started off with him. Brian Tracy is a very technical guy that we went through. Then I started moving over to Gary Vee. Then I started there's a million authors out there that really created this Sell to Survive, and a million books out there that you can really read. Tony Robbins, of course, brilliant. Whatever you read from him and whatever you purchase from him, it's just an amazing. But the point of sales is, and no book can actually teach you this.
Okay,
is that it's like you're watching a boxing match. Okay. And you can always listen to the commentary of the boxing match and you can tell, hey, he moved right, he moved left, he ricocheted and this and that. But if you don't step into the ring, you never know how it feels. Right. Yeah. So at one point of time, what I tell juniors, especially people that went into creating new startups, I tell them, go into sales. Before you even think about starting a company, go into sales. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you graduate. It can be engineering. It can be whatever you want to graduate. Right? Go into sales.
Yeah.
And they're like, I'm a tech engineer. Go into sales. Why? It teaches you not only understanding different markets. It teaches you how to communicate with people, psychology, sociology. It teaches you how to accept rejections, overcome rejections. It gives you mental strength. It teaches you how to cope with situations. It teaches you how to think fast on your feet. It teaches you how to react, and it gives you the foundation to start anything you want in your life. It starts with you. Yeah. It starts with you. See, next edit. Everybody,
you're saying the truth, man. I wish that I had gone into sales a long time ago, even before I went into sales.
I have a lot of friends that they come to me and they're like, "Hey, can you teach me sales?" Like, I can teach you sales. So let me give you an example. When I started
you have to learn by doing it though, don't you? You can't
just
learn from a book. You gotta go. That's why I went into car sales, because I sucked at selling. So I went and I sold cars and I learned how to sell.
You got to start doing it. There's no other way. So when I started my consult, this is an interesting story. When I started my consulting career, right? I was a consultant for some insurance companies and some boards and trustees. And companies called me and was like, "Yeah, I need to create some packages. This is really tiresome. This costs this much and that one." So I created these packages that were really crazy. So the first package was called a one night stand. It's like, I come into your office, you give me your salespeople, I train them for 4 or 5 hours. We do these sessions, okay, with different modules and different training workshops. We like each other. Okay, we like each other. We sleep with each other. Tomorrow we don't know each other. You're happy for a day. Tomorrow you're already needy again. Tomorrow you have the same issue. You still need something else. And I don't satisfy your needs. But you can pay me for that one day, but that's just a one night stand. We don't love each other. So it was the first package was called a one night stand. The second package was called first love or first kiss. It was like, okay, it's a 3 months period retainer contract that I come into your office twice a week. I train your people, one-on-one sessions. I give you a psychological report and I tell you who's cut out for it, who's not, and what they need to improve. And I train directly with your people. And those salespeople get some certain skills within and traced and engaged within them. And it's a sticker solution. It's not something that will withstand tough weather, right?
Okay.
So it's your first love. It's your first kiss. You like me. And then eventually you'll find somebody else and you'll forget about me, but I'll still say somewhere and say, "Hey, that guy was good. He did a good training session." But that's pretty much it. You'll remember me, or I'll be somewhere, whatever I told you and whatever I taught you, that was good. That's pretty much it. And the third solution is called marriage. Sales marriage. It's a contractual based on an annual based support system where I'm working every single week. Come to your office for a year. I train your people. I give you the ways out. I give you the plans and strategic decisions that you have to make. And you don't like me. And sometimes I don't like you. And we get into these fights all the time because my decisions and your decision are not the same. You wouldn't hire me if you didn't need me. And you talk too much. I talk too much, like any other marriage. But at the end of the day, we can't live without each other. That goes on for a year. And that's pretty much it. So whenever I was sending out these, and I get these phone calls from these head of sales or director of sales, and like, "This is fucking amazing." They're like, "You know what? I'm not happy in my marriage. Let's do this."
It was the way you structured it. Like, that is so freaking unique.
And we didn't have ChatGPT at the time. So it was very interesting. So that's where it comes from, right?
Wow.
Even now now we have a very successful marketing agency that we've transformed, that specialized within 3 industries basically, but our logistics and transportation industry is one of the key aspects of the marketing agency that we work with. And then we have the real estate business, and we work for tech companies as well. But so the way I build it is, I've a person that's now leading the company. You got to have people. You got to have people that you mentor. And
how do you find them?
Again, it's a numbers game, both in time invested to understand who do you employ, and to be honest with you, within the last, I don't want to mess this up. Within the last 2 years, I've interviewed personally, even though we have a huge HR department. I've interviewed personally more than 800 people.
Wow.
Personally.
Wow.
So why did I do it? Is because I want to handpick my people. And
there you go.
The success rate that we got, and I'm the type of, I don't want to say leader, but I'm the type of person who wants to understand what everybody else in the company is doing. And if they have issues at home, if they don't have issues at home, if they have issues within their marriage, and if we can help that out. Because people are not machines. People are not computers. You got to understand them.
People don't care how much until they know how much you care.
Trust me. They come to your company. They spend here 8, 10, 12 hours a day, depending on how much they want to work.
They spend more time with the company than they do their partner.
Exactly. And they come home, they're tired, they want to sleep, and they have that 2 days off. So they spend a lot of time in the company. So what I want to do is I want to tell them how much we appreciate it, but also that they understand that their role in this company isn't just doing their job for the next 10 years and not moving from one place. I want them to succeed. I want them to succeed, even if they go away from us. Like after 5 years, they're skillful. They say, "Hey, I want to start my own company." Brilliant. Let me help you out. This is what I want to do. And the way I found them is, you got to the really recruitment part, but I personally I personally have the key cores and values that I see into people, and I value character more than I value skills.
Do you think it attracts them, like the law of attraction?
Could be. They tell me we have very different interview sessions than with most companies they have. And we've got people right now that, and after you get them on board, that's just a starting line. You got to talk with them. If you're a leader and you don't have weekly, once a week management meetings, and you don't talk and sit down for a cup of coffee with your people, with your management team, you're a lousy leader.
Yeah. Okay.
Because they need, even sometimes you got to be a psychologist and they need somebody to talk to, nothing else. You got to motivate them. We give them a attaboy sometimes, and that's pretty much it. That's pretty much it. And the way I do it is I consistently keep talking about our vision in the company, what we call the JR way, which is based on the trust system we talked about. Yeah. When they understand where we come from and what we want to achieve, that they sink into it, they buy into it, and they start believing in it. And they see that we stand behind everything we say. And right now we got a tremendous leadership that's pulling in the hours and really working hard to make these functions, because I wouldn't be able to manage 6 or 7 companies by myself. That's definitely not possible. Not.
Wow. Hey, this has been absolutely amazing talking to you. I'd love to have you back on the show, but how can our listeners connect with you online if they choose to do so?
So on social media, they can definitely find me on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. They can also go to my email, which is kemal@orarimedia.com. And they can reach out to me whenever they want, and I'm available. I'm really available.
Sure.
I'm 25A.
That's awesome.
25A.
We'll make sure we put that information in the show notes. Hey, Kemal, it's been a pleasure having you here. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Great talking to you, Matt, and hope the listeners and the viewers liked it.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.